Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
Give me a moment, would you, friend? I've never been on trial for my thoughts before.
Welcome to the Only One Mic podcast. Carl Gerard, Brooklyn Dre, just me. How y'all doing?
What's up? What's up?
All right, so we're gonna discuss our thoughts on the Super Bowl. I know it passed and everything, and the whole hiring practices of African American coaches, as well as Black History versus Black Futures Month, and why in the world are we still singing the National Anthem, Black folks, at these sporting events? All right, so let's jump right into it.
I started off by saying, what did y'all think about the halftime show?
Some people putting it down as like one of the best halftime shows ever. I see you shaking your head, Jess. It seemed like just a regular show to me. I don't want to mark it as like one of the best ones that was ever done.
It was good because of the fact that, you know, we was up there with hip hop or whatever. Dr. Dre, he did a pretty decent job putting a little line up together, and it was dope. Him and Snoop going back and forth. Don't get me wrong, and it was dope seeing Mary up there do her thing, and she only had 2 minutes. 50 Cent was a great addition. Y'all know how I feel about Eminem. Don't judge me. I don't care. I'm not a fan, and people just started hyping it up because he took a knee. I mean, it is what it is. I thought it was a decent show for the halftime, but for people to say that it was the best, no, I disagree with that. I saw some of the best shows ever. Let me tell you something. That Bruno Mars joint was up there, and I ain't gonna hold you. Michael Jackson's halftime show set the bar for a lot of people. Beyonce did a joint that really set the halftime show off. So there were other good shows that, you know. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying it wasn't good. It just wasn't like the best ever.
I mean, we try to stay from secular music now, but I happen to be watching the game, so I watched the halftime show. I thought it was a decent halftime show. I think it's just like anything else. It's like the first time we get the opportunity to see like music that we normally listen to. That's probably the only reason why it was probably really celebrated. But it was kind of weird watching the reactions from other people, like, you know, people that actually videotaped it and stuff like that while they were in the arena, because you could see like there's a lot of Caucasian people in there were like really out of touch with the music, because you got to understand when it comes to like the Super Bowl, it ain't like that crowd is different now. You know what I mean? It's not like really like fans of Super Bowl. It's like a lot of people who can just afford the ticket. You know what I mean? So it's like a Sadiddy crowd, and it's kind of weird.
I feel what you're saying in regards to that, but let me just interject right there. That's one of the biggest misconceptions I had for a very long time, up until Straight Outta Compton came out. And I went to the movie theater in the daytime. I caught myself going to see it. And, you know, I was taken back because it was nothing but white people in the movie theater. And I happened to go up to this man because I thought I was in the wrong joint. It says Straight Outta Compton outside of the door. But I went up to this man and I was like, what movie is this? And he was like, Straight Outta Compton. Like, you ain't know? So, I mean, I sat in the movie theater with a predominantly white crowd. There are a lot of white people that are engaged with our culture, but I get what you're saying as far as the ticket, people can go because they probably got really, like Matt Damon and all of them was there. And I looked around the crowd at who was there. I mean, it was some people that would know, like I think LeBron was out there and JayZ was out there, of course.
No, I'm saying that in regards to like when I watched the game, like, you know, you saw the stars and the celebrities celebrating that whole, you know, the music and everything like that. But when it came to like some of the fans, I'm sitting there looking at the fans and I'm like, they seem like they're out of touch, because I think that music that they're playing, NWA is kind of like white people have adopted NWA. You know what I mean? They adopted Public Enemy, and you know what I mean? But in regards to like some of the music that they were playing, as far as like Mary and Snoop and stuff like that, I think they were playing stuff that
Snoop.
No, I'm saying they love Snoop, but I'm saying they love Snoop for particular songs. You know what I mean? I think the songs they were playing like Dre Day and stuff like that, that's something more like our type of hip hop music. You know what I mean?
I feel you on that, but the Mary joints definitely, they love No More Drama. And
Oh yeah, they love No More Drama. Yeah.
That's what I was like, please don't sing No More Drama. But I understood the reason why she sang it, and she explained later.
That's her popular song.
Nah, she said the reason why she did it is because she was trying to find a song that was fitting for our times right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? And what she went through, what a lot of people are going through in life, which is drama, unnecessary drama. So she felt like that was a good upbeat song to sing that everybody could relate to. And I kind of got that. I would have liked to see more of her.
With the Eminem kneeling thing, I mean, I guess that was good that he kneeled and stuff like that. Well, first going back to kneeling, I never really liked the whole kneeling process when Kaepernick. I'm a Malcolm X fan. I don't believe in kneeling and marching and sitting in and all that other stuff like that. It's kind of weird to me, you know what I mean? Because I think Malcolm used to always say like it's like really not something cool for men to do, you know what I mean, or a race of people to do. So I mean, I know it served its purpose in a lot of cases, but I'm not a big fan of it. But I would say with the kneeling, I mean, it was good for him to do it. I just was kind of weirded out by the fact that a lot of, like, he's standing next to all of these powerful African American people and they're not doing anything.
That's the thing that kind of took me back to, was like,
I think they all should have kneeled.
They all should have, yeah. And it's like he did it, and it was said that it was actually rehearsed. Like that was something that he was going to do anyway.
Yeah, he told the NFL he was going to do it.
Yeah, but I mean, if
he wouldn't do the show if he didn't do it, something like that.
Why wasn't everybody on code with that though?
Yeah, you know I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure.
That's the thing.
Same reason why everybody ain't kneel when Kaepernick knelt.
It's kind of weird, but you know, even with that whole thing, man, I think, like, looking at the NFL now, and I think they kind of, I might be going against the grain here when I say this, but I think that whole process of them trying to do this halftime show, it kind of sold out. How do y'all feel about that?
I was going to say, elaborate on that. You said it sold out.
Well, when I say it's sold out, man, it's as I'm looking at this stuff with the NFL and right now with Coach Brian Flores about how he's trying to get a job and how
he got one now.
Well, he got one now, but he got one by he's not a head coach.
No.
He's like a assistant coach or something, like defensive coordinator or something like that.
They gave him hush money.
It wasn't hush money because he still got a case against the NFL. So he didn't drop the case. He still got it going. He's suing the NFL because he's saying that anytime he goes to interview for these jobs, he feels like, you know, he has no chance of getting a job. And he interviewed for 2 jobs. One of the job was with the Denver Broncos, and he says allegedly he believed that when he interviewed with the Denver Broncos, he said that he believed that the people that he met with was drunk at the time of the interview.
Wow.
You know, he said, so they didn't take him seriously. He believed that. And then he also talked about how when he interviewed with the Giants, just before he went to the interview, because he was friends with Bill Belichick, and I believe it's Brian Dable, who's now the Giants head coach. They're both friends of Bill Belichick. And what happens is 3 days before he was supposed to take the interview, he got a text from Bill Belichick saying congratulations on getting the job. But Bill Belichick, I guess, had Brian Dable and Brian Flores in his phone as Brian, and he texted the wrong Brian. So which
worked out beautifully.
Yeah, well, it's sad because I don't think Bill Belichick had anything to do with it. He's just actually telling one of his people, hey, good, you got the job. But at the end of the day, he texted him 3 days before he even went to the interview. So he went to the interview knowing that the interview was somewhat of a sham. And he went through the whole interview process. And at the end of the day, just like Bill Belichick said, they gave Brian Dable the job. So according to Brian Flores, what he's saying is the Rooney Rule is a joke. And the Rooney Rule was basically put together back in the 80s, I believe it was, because they were saying that I think there were like only 2 black head coaches at the time. And they were making it where it would be fair for the black coaches to get an opportunity and so to interview for the job. So I think the rule is basically that you have to interview at least 2 minorities prior to making a decision on your head coach. And Brian Flores was saying that even at the time when they interviewed, when they put that Rooney Rule in place, there were only 2 black coaches. And I think right now it might be only 3 black coaches in the league right now. So,
Well, it's only
you know,
one
so
head black coach, right? That's a
no,
group of Steelers.
I think it's three minorities. I think it's Mike Tomlin. I want to say Lovie Smith might have just got a job. And I think the Saints is actually thinking about making their their black defensive coach. I think they're thinking about promoting him to head coach. And I think Ron Rivera, I believe he still has a job in the NFL. He's not black, but he's a minority.
We have a clip of Brian Flores. He was on CBS Mornings today, as a matter of fact. He was talking about why he was bringing this thing to the forefront.
There's a problem from a hiring standpoint in regards to minority coaches in the National Football League. The numbers speak for themselves.
Right.
We filed the lawsuit so that we could create some change.
In his lawsuit, Flores alleged he was interviewed for coaching vacancies solely to satisfy the NFL's so-called Rooney Rule, which requires teams to interview multiple minority candidates when filling high-level jobs like head coach or general manager.
So the Rooney Rule is basically affirmative action. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the funny thing about that, I never even believe it. I mean, I think, you know, you want to think that when they put these laws in place that, you know, it's going to change something. But even in affirmative action, when you notice when you walk in most of these offices, the only thing affirmative action did, I believe, is made more black supervisors and managers and, you know, if that managers. I mean, how many times do you walk in the office and see, you know, seeing most of the people that are managers are Caucasian? You know what I mean? Or some other ethnic group, ain't us. You know what I mean? We might have a few sprinkles in there, but when it comes to like the CEOs and the VPs and all that other stuff like that, it's usually not us. So, you know, when black people get together and they start talking that stuff about let's go and get together and talk to people and sign bills and, you know, sign these laws in place, these laws never do anything. It never does anything. And even with the NFL, that's what I'm saying with that whole halftime show. It's like smoke and mirrors. You know what I mean? Because it portrays like this NFL is like this, you know, like they overcame. The Rooney Rule was passed in 1989.
And that is like
exactly
well in the years of this should have been happening already. You know.
Yeah, but you know what it is so that they can be interviewed. It's not so that they can be hired. We can interview all day long. You know what I'm saying? That's why things happen to that man. I feel bad for him, Brian Flores. That's why it happened to him like that. He found out 3 days before that he didn't have a job because of an accidental text, which means they, on their part, didn't care, and that's why they was drunk when he went into the interview.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Well, no, hold on. But the Giants, he didn't say the Giants were drunk. He was saying that the Denver Broncos. He was interviewed for 2 different jobs.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, but listen.
But you were saying that not the Giants wasn't drunk.
Okay, the
Giants was the one that he had the problem with.
This is my whole point. Everybody he interviewed for already knew he wasn't going to get the job. The decision was already made. That's what I'm saying. So they followed the Rooney Rule. They interviewed him like they were supposed to, but nobody had any intentions on hiring him. That's why I'm proud that that man is moving forward with what's going on, because somebody got to stand up. And I'm glad that that proof fell into his hands, because maybe he has some ground to stand on right now.
Yeah, well, he definitely got a ground to stand on. I mean, like one thing he said in that clip right there was basically like, you don't need to validate that the NFL you don't have to verify the NFL has shown that it has some racist tendencies. I mean, it's all out there in the open. I mean, the fact that we're in this day and age, and I think 70% of the NFL is like African American or minority, and the fact that you only have 5 head coaches, and when you look back on like the 100 top greatest NFL players and stuff like that, to say that none of these men ever deserved the job, the greatest in their profession, that sometime, I mean, obviously they could teach somebody how to be as good as they are, you know, if they had the right person to mold for the job, you know. But it's a sad thing that, and that's why I said I think they sold out a little bit, because the fact that they're up there and they're having this great celebration of hip hop and all that other stuff like that, supposedly, it's like on the back end, Brian Flores is getting a raw deal. And I think they were saying, like, I don't know, allegedly they said Dr. Dre played like $8 million for that halftime show or something like that. Was that $8 million worth it?
Well, I see what you're saying.
If you still got this going on in the NFL, is that $8 million worth it? I mean, that's allegedly if he paid for it, but that's what they're saying. It's alleged that he paid $8 million or $7 to $8 million for the halftime show. To me, it just seems silly, man. It doesn't make sense.
I'd like to add the culture and the climate for like the difference between football and basketball is so crazy, right? Like,
right.
Had that halftime show been something that was presented at a basketball game, but by the same token, it's still issues within the NBA that need to be addressed and need to be handled. We just honestly don't see them on the forefront as much as we do when it comes to football.
Honestly, I think in the NBA, I think out of all the leagues, I think the NBA handles it as best as they can. And I think the reason why with the NBA is because, number one, the players make so much money that they can actually boycott. They can actually do more. The thing about the NFL is everybody don't make millions and millions of dollars in the NFL. There's a lot of people on them benches that's not making really anything. You know what I mean? So they don't really have the voice, or they don't have the option of just saying like, listen, I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that. But I think the NBA actually pretty much does I think they know where their bread is buttered.
I was just making a point. It's still issues.
Oh, they got issues.
There's issues in every.
They have issues, yeah.
Facet of sports. I mean, that's just what it is.
Let me correct myself, because you're right in the sense of the NBA, because the NBA do have issues with giving out head coaching jobs, man. Like, I think a lot of times the NBA, just like the NFL, can give a head coaching job to like a novice, like somebody who's like really don't have any head coaching experience, who's Caucasian. But, you know, you have African American people that have played basketball, have shown that they've been great coaches and stuff like that, and they can't get a job. You know what I mean? Like, a perfect example is Steve Nash in Brooklyn. I mean, yeah, he has some front office experience and stuff like that. And a lot of people are like on him right now because they don't think he really deserved that job. You know, and he has a lot of talent in Brooklyn and on his team. And right now, I think they're just fighting to get into the playoffs. You know what I mean? So, and then you have a guy like Mark Jackson, who's successful in basketball from Brooklyn, New York, and done did everything as a player. And he actually was the coach of Golden State at one time. A lot of people say that he put that Golden State team together, and they ended up firing him or letting him go for some alleged issue. They had some issues, I believe, with his religion or something like that. According to Andre Iguodala, I've seen something where they were saying like they had an issue with him and homosexuality or something like that, and his belief in religion or something like that. And so allegedly, I think Andre Iguodala said it on the Breakfast Club or something like that. But the whole point of it is that at the end of the day, the man is coming to do a job. I don't care what he believes in, as long as he can actually coach basketball, you know what I mean? And he's obviously proven that. So, I mean, yeah, they do have issues with that. And that's another thing, that's the biggest thing with the NFL right now, is that they're hiring a lot of people who, like Brian Flores has more winning seasons than the last 4 white coaches that have been hired. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So how in the world doesn't the man deserve an opportunity for a job? You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's what it is that the whole hiring practices and all, for this, it's always been an issue, even with black owners. Football, definitely, no black owners.
And look at all of that money, all of these African Americans spent to go to this particular Super Bowl to celebrate, you know, hip hop music being in the Super Bowl and all the other stuff like that. They spent a lot of money out there. What is the NFL really doing about taking care of hiring more black front office people, more head coaches? I don't even believe there's a black owner as of yet. I think the comedian, what's his name again? Byron Allen is trying to purchase a team right now. The good thing about Byron Allen, though, is that I believe if there's any way for him to purchase it, he's going to purchase it, because that's his whole thing. It's like, if you don't let him in, you know, he's going to sue you for not letting him in. You know what I mean? That's pretty much how he's been operating, man. So he's been pretty good with what he's doing. You know, he's a leader. He's a quiet leader over there, doing what he does. But again, yeah, I think it's a slap in the face. I think JayZ, all of them, Dr. Dre, and all of them, knowing that these things are on the back end before they even signed into to this thing, they should have been asking then, like, yo, listen, why we ain't got no black owners? How come we in this day and age we got 2 and 3 black head coaches, and when the Rooney Rule was put together, we only had 2 at the time, so we only moved up maybe 1 or 2 more people? That's ridiculous. And this has been since 1989, and we go into a Super Bowl and we celebrating like they're doing something good for African American people. It doesn't make sense to me.
Maybe JayZ's take on it was that, at least, I mean, I can't speak for him because I don't know him personally, but maybe his take on it was just that at least it's something, at least it's a start. Like, we got to start somewhere.
Yeah, how many starts are you going to get all the time, though, man?
But this ain't the 1960s, man. This is, we're in 2022, man, and we're still talking about there's an NFL that has, less than 5 black coaches. We're talking about the people who actually are great football players who have not been even invited to the front office, or, who better to pick talent than somebody that's talented football player?
I guess it's better to just have them commenting on the games on these networks as opposed to being in the actual organization.
It seemed like it was a little shucking and jiving on that. And again, I don't know, maybe unconsciously they were doing this thing. But I think they, being who they are, they're intelligent enough. I think they should have came to the table with a plan. Like, listen, now y'all can't continue doing this, and then ask us to do a Super Bowl halftime show. Are you crazy? And then the only person that takes a tough stand is Eminem,
and everybody else stood around and watched. That's what kind of unnerved me. It was like, y'all should have been down there.
He threw his fist up on the BET Awards and everybody went crazy when he threw his fist up. Eminem. I mean, listen, that's a whole nother topic. I'm not going.
Well, again, I'm not saying that I'm super singing his praises or anything like that, but I would say at least he came to to them with the agenda. Like, listen, I'm not doing this unless I get on one knee. If he didn't do that, nobody would ever.
But that's the thing. I don't have a problem with him doing it. I have the problem with everybody else not doing it. 50
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Jay and all them said like this. That shouldn't even went down like that. I mean, if you want to do it, then you join him in doing it, or he joins you in doing it. You don't agree?
Mm-mm.
You don't agree?
Because Mary, Dre, Snoop, 50, they all have more to lose getting on that knee than Eminem, who will never suffer any repercussions from doing that.
Well, let me ask though, what do they lose? This man Dre alone is a billionaire. What does he lose?
So that means they can stop him from getting money.
How?
Other people been stopped before. They could shut it down. Trust me. Yeah, he has money. He's done very well for himself. He's doing very well. So is JayZ. But don't think at any given point that they can't be stopped from getting money.
Well, that's just the game. But in this particular situation, they're not losing anything by taking a stance.
I don't know. I could be.
So you're talking about. I don't mean to cut you off, but you're talking about what? You figure JayZ, which he didn't perform, but JayZ, 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, just to name a few, Snoop. These guys are empires, each one of them, in their own right. To shut them down means that corporations lose money. You know what I mean? So some things might slip through the crack. I'm not saying that they're above not getting it knocked off. You know what I mean? But the thing is that these guys are powerhouses in their own right. So they're not standing as much to lose as, Eminem.
Well, even in this, it's not even that they had to stand up. It's not how they had to go to the show and do that. Just say, I'm not doing it. I'm not showing up. I'm not doing this show because I recognize that y'all are basically trying to give us a carrot and act as if like everything is good. They didn't necessarily have to do the show.
I heard it was Dre's idea. He's the one that suggested that they come up there and do that. He picked the lineup and all of that. But listen, like, let's just look at it like this.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Look at it like this. Okay, there was a halftime show, right? Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson. Okay, you trying to tell me that they didn't rehearse their show? Of course they did. You trying to tell me that's why the pasty was on her nipple? The pasty was on her nipple because they was gonna rip it open. Who suffered from that the most? Janet.
I don't think she really suffered from it. I think she got bad press, but she ain't got bad press. She ain't lose no money on it.
I just watched the whole documentary about how much she suffered. You know how hard she had to fight to stay in the game? I just watched a whole documentary on Janet Jackson, and they talk about that. They tried to tarnish her career. The fact
I think that was
I'm wearing, you see, I'm wearing a Janet Jackson shirt right now.
I see
That's
it.
how much I was inspired by her documentary.
No, but I'm saying I think it was more so she's looking at it from an instance of bad press. I don't think it really killed her career or nothing like that. It's Janet
You
Jackson.
have to research. You have to do your research, buddy.
No, I know what you're talking. I didn't, honestly speaking, I haven't watched the documentary, and I'm quite sure that it's going to say. But looking at it from Janet's perspective and looking at it from our perspective, I mean, I don't care about getting bad press.
That's what it was about, though. It wasn't just about the bad press. It was just about like her records not coming out, not getting pushed like that, and her having to really, it was like a little struggle for a second, and that's what she endured. She overcame it. She's been around for decades. You know what I'm saying? And she's still looked at as one of the most prettiest women. You know what I mean? And she's still looked at as a person who changed the industry. When she came out with that Control album, she shut everything down, and it's still like it still gets its accolades.
I mean, not to make this conversation about Janet, but just in retrospect, she had to scratch her way back up for what chicks are doing for nothing right now.
Yes.
Coming on stage with pasties and ripping off their clothes,
yes,
which is a whole other issue that we can discuss. But to circle back to what you were saying about, saying that we won't do it. You know what I mean? And this is in regards to Dr. Dre and all of them. What about us? Why do we still do it? You know what I mean? Why do we still support, the NFL? Because I know a lot of people was saying that they stopped watching football because of this reason.
Here's my point. My point is that where did we start losing these morals?
It's a trained behavior. It's a vicious cycle. It's nobody to really step outside the box because it's easier just to comply and deal with what we've been dealing with. There's very few people that's willing to put up that fight and be like, you know what? No more Super Bowls. You know why too? Because a lot of people is nosy. Everybody else is watching it. I want to see what I'm missing. That's the same thing.
I'll give you an example on this, right? Like right now, just because we're having this conversation, and I guess guarantee you when you get put this up on YouTube and stuff like that, and you'll get the comments. And it seems like when you say anything against, like, JayZ, Dr. Dre, all of these different black men with money and stuff like that, it's like our African American people will support these people even in the sellout.
Yeah,
they'll support them in the sellout.
I'm not saying unnecessarily.
It's like because they got no. I'm saying, well, no, but I'm telling you. I'll give you an example. Just like that Barclays thing. When they did Barclays and they were talking about like JayZ is the owner of of the Barclays building and all the other stuff like that. In reality, we knew he wasn't like the head owner or anything like that. He might have had something to do with with the company, right? But what happens is, I believe, and this is what I watched a documentary on it when they were talking about how they basically finessed a lot of people out of their homes in Brooklyn because of the eminent domain. Where they were talking about how for instance, if I don't want to sell my property or if I don't want to sell my store, and in Brooklyn, however they find out for the greater good for business and stuff like that, that they can go ahead and sell my store, get rid of my business, then it's all good. But I think they actually used him as a face of the Brooklyn Nets. His face is posted all over. He's an owner. In reality, he's probably like a silent owner, a small owner of a portion of it. But there's a huge corporation that's behind him. You know what I mean? So when the people in the hood is saying, like, listen, I don't want to sell my property, I don't want to cave into eminent domain or anything like that, then you have people in the back end saying, oh, well, it's JayZ. He's a owner. He's a black owner or whatever like that. And then a lot of those people voices were kind of like forced in a situation where they had no voice because of the fact that, people were saying it's JayZ. It's a good thing. It's him. He's going to do the greater good for us, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, simply put, man, they look at it and say the devil ain't white. You know what I mean? Yeah. In terms of, like, say he's coming and saying, well, JayZ put the stamp on it, so it got to be right. You know what I mean? He's not going to jack over Brooklyn. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying that he's not a, maybe a good businessman or anything like that, but for me, and maybe he have good intentions and stuff like that, but for me, it sounds just like, the back in the day thing, like it's an overseer kind of thing. These guys have influence. So when you want to influence people, you go get JayZ. For older black people, you go get Steve Harvey. You know what I mean? And for some reason, people will not speak out against these people because they're influencers.
Right.
You
Like,
know?
to bring it back to like the point I was just trying to make was like, and not to make it sound like any type of racial issue, but let's be for real. If you've had your house and you've had your business for God knows how long, and a bunch of white men in suits came to you right now, just say, yo, like, sell your business, sell your house, you want to build a stadium here. The whole neighborhood would riot. You know what I mean? We're from that neighborhood. You know what I mean? So we can kind of speak to that particular situation because we're from that neighborhood. This is our area where we came from. And I mean that like on a personal level. So if a person came and said, look, these guys are all coming together because they want to basically turn downtown Brooklyn into Disneyland, we're going to erase everything that we know. You know what I mean? Because at a certain point, when they start building this thing, you can't afford to stay here. I can't afford to pay the rent for my business. You know what I mean? They want to move me out and say if I'm the neighborhood diner, now they want to move me out and put in a Buffalo Wild Wings. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, even now, downtown Brooklyn now, where it's like even so much so that, and this is how I feel about Brooklyn now. I used to love downtown Brooklyn because you had so many different owners of businesses, whereas you could get a variety of different clothing. Like when you walk down there, this store owner didn't buy what that store owner bought. You know what I mean? Like even just in regards to sneakers and stuff like that. You had the flea market, you had, the bazaar, you had different places that you can go to get different style of things. Downtown Brooklyn is so corporate now, is that everything is pretty much Foot Locker. It's pretty much Foot Action, whatever major sneaker store or whatever case may be is down there, and everything is the same.
It's an outlet.
And every store is the same exact thing. You know what I mean? They've erased the whole mom and pop business.
But that's just about everywhere because I mean, in my area right here, and I know I often report on my area, this used to be a quaint little section of, basically Yonkers. There's a quaint little section. So you had your local fish market, you had your local hairdresser, you had your local print and press, printing company, you had your local cleaners. They used to actually pick your clothes up and deliver it back to you, cleaners. My mom right now, they still have a drugstore. They deliver her medicine to her. But for the most part, those little stores got tore down. They're not here anymore.
They can't afford to be there.
And we are surrounded by all new faces. Whereas there was a time you could walk down the street and know everybody you were passing, or at least know that they were a part of somebody's family that you knew in this area. And it got to the point where so many new faces here, and so many co-ops around you. Like I think I mentioned this to y'all before, the apartments right down the street. I could walk to the apartments right down the street from my mom, which is so crazy because they right across from the projects, the quote unquote projects. These projects is pretty nice though over here. No lie. Right. But they right across from the projects.
They're called condominiums.
$2,700 a month for a 1-bedroom. That's a little bit over 500 square feet.
Yeah, it's a condo.
Well, that's what I'm saying. As far as right now, it's like even our old neighborhood it's a hood. You know what I mean? And our old neighborhood is. Yeah, but it's gentrification, man, to the point where the whole thing has lost the personality of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm more for all colors of people. I don't have no problem with no different colors, but the fact that it's just gentrified to the point where it's like I go home now, I barely know anybody there. You know what I mean? And then it's more Caucasian people in the neighborhood than there is any African Americans or any Latinos or anything like that. And again, I don't have a problem with color or anything like that, but I think it's not the fact that I have a problem with any kind of color. I think I have a problem with the fact that people are forced out. You know what I mean? They're forced out. The minorities who built this neighborhood, who the neighborhood got its culture and charisma from, are being forced out financially.
That's true because in Southbridge in Wilmington, where I have my house, right? I remember one of the selling points that the realtor was using at the
Southbridge in
time.
Delaware for people that don't.
Yeah,
know.
Southbridge in Delaware. I have my house. Okay, Claymore Street, represent.
Mhm.
But you know, the one of the selling points that the realtor was using was eventually they're gonna come around and they're gonna knock on your door because they're building up the riverfront, and in 7 years, you know, it's projected to be like, you know, this is gonna be a really, really, really expensive area. Like she's telling me it's about to be gentrified without telling, and she's selling it like you could sell your house for a whole lot of money. And let me tell you something, 10 years later, like
She's right.
She's actually right. Yeah.
well, no, she really wasn't.
She was
really
right.
wasn't.
She was
She
right.
really wasn't, because they said in 5 to 7 years, and I was in my house for 10 years, and I didn't see nothing like that. I saw the riverfront growing up, but I didn't see nobody coming in trying to take over my house. They knocked
It's
on
Not
a
now.
friend of mine.
Yeah.
it's slow. It's slow, but it's
It's
moving.
slow ground, but it's moving.
moving.
Yeah, it's changing.
It's
now.
moving. It's
There's
changing now.
people
There.
over there that's not gonna move. My friend's grandmother, they knocked on her door. She says she's not going anywhere, and she's one of the oldest. She's one of the oldest residents of that area. She's
Oh, they're
saying
gonna-
she's
they're
not going.
That's what I'm telling you. They're gonna move. You're gonna move eventually. When they want that,
I'm
when they
going.
want that area, you're getting up out of there. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm
But that's
going.
again, that's, huh?
I'm going. I'm back home now.
Well, that's what I'm saying in regards to, like, that's the whole thing is when they come through with that money, either you're gonna move, and again, this goes back to how they did in Brooklyn. It's like, all right, it's for the greater good for the state. You know, you're stopping it up. It's either you can, it's like what's the rapper say? Benny says, get down or lay down.
Pretty much.
I
Get
know,
down or lay
like,
down.
I know we might be a little pressed for time, but I just want to throw this in there. I am researching this Bill Cosby thing. I do want to get into it our next show because it's really, really interesting. Talking about that whole, I think it's a 4 or 5 part documentary series on Showtime. And I really, really want to get into it because I think that
Yeah, W.
y'all
Kamau
would,
Bell.
I think y'all would really enjoy what I'm seeing because it's not like what I thought. I thought they was gonna bring Bill Cosby on there, bash Bill
No.
Cosby like that, and it wasn't even like that. It's not. It's really not like that.
What the publicist was saying, and I know, like I said, we're going to do a show on that, a separate show, but
Yeah.
the publicist was basically saying, like, why we keep bringing this up? Bill Cosby's
You know
publicist.
what's funny? You know what's funny about that? I didn't watch I didn't watch it, and we'll keep it brief because obviously we want to do a show on it. I didn't watch it, but he's getting a lot of flack for that.
Oh yeah, W. Kamau Bell is getting slammed against the fence for this one.
You know what was my first thing that I saw when I first started watching it? I was like, this the dude from CNN. Like, I didn't know he was a comedian.
Yeah, he had a show on FX. Not a comedy show, but he does a lot of documentaries mixed in with his comedy.
Yeah.
He's a protege, I think, of Chris Rock, actually.
He goes under, well, I don't know about all of that, but he goes to like Africa and whatnot, does all of these documentaries, and some of them are pretty good. I think it's called United Shades of America.
United Shades of America, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that's what it's called. Because my mom used to be like, "Oh, I want to see this episode," so she would record it. So sometimes I would, watch it with her or whatever, and it was pretty interesting. But I had no idea that he was a comedian. So this really just threw me for a loop.
Well, you got to see.
I'm sorry.
I
watched a couple of his. I watched a couple of his shows, and they like you said, they were interesting. I think Bill Cosby did anything wrong to anybody, I feel that he should, get what it, get what's coming to him. Let me ask you this. Just ask you this. I know we're not doing the show, but let me ask you this. I mean, if he did his time,
and he did, like you mean completely did the whole stretch without getting out of jail. If he did his time.
Well, I mean, whatever time he did.
What is his time? What constitutes his time?
The time when he was incarcerated.
He did his time.
Okay.
Well, he did his time. He did it.
Okay.
He did his time. I mean,
Didn't they let him out? They let him out early, right?
Yeah.
Well, he didn't get let out early. From what I understand, it was a glitch in his case. Yeah. They violated they trying to go rights.
Back, and they trying to go back.
Well, from my understanding, what happens is that there were certain statements that were took when he was being questioned that they assured him that was not going to be used against him in court, and they used it
his
against
documents
him.
were sealed.
His documents were
sealed.
So
check it out. So when I finish watching this docuseries, it's gonna take me like a couple more days, but by the next show I should be ready. We're gonna go in on
the next show we got a guest, so we're not gonna be talking about that.
Yes. Why don't you talk about that real quick?
Well, it's Kelly Garrett. and she's an author of the Detective by Day series. There's 2 books in that series. And she also has a book that's coming out, I believe, next month called Like a Sister, which is based on a case that happened in the Bronx. It's not the actual case, but the story is based on it, about a Instagram model who was found naked, dead in the street. And basically her sister was coming to visit. I don't want to give too much away because I let Kelly talk about it. But that's next week's show. That's next week. Or not next week. Well, yeah, next week. Well, sometime this week. Next show. Whatever the next episode.
The next show, yeah.
Next show. Next
Working
show.
hard.
Yeah, we're working hard, yeah. We're starting to run together, but yeah, that's the next episode.
Yeah.
So,
but
if he did his time,
I don't. He did his time, man. I don't. Like somebody asked, like, how many documentaries are we gonna have? You know what I mean? Like, it's like R. Kelly. Like how many times are we gonna do?
Bill is the new OJ. Let's just throw it out there.
And let's not even talk about it no more. We're gonna talk about it when I finish watching.
I'm just gonna leave that with y'all. Bill is the new OJ. They're not gonna let him get away with this one. They don't hound him just
and I just want to clear this up.
I'm not ready to go in right now.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I just want to clear this up. I'm not exonerating the man of nothing, man. If he did anything wrong, you know, the justice system will deal with him like how they supposed to deal with him. You know what I mean? I just was wondering, like, what's the purpose of it? You know what I mean? If he did his, if he did his time, you know what I mean?
I'm gonna keep my comments to whether I think he did or didn't do something wrong to myself until I finish the documentary.
Right. I'm not gonna say it. I need to do more research on it myself.
And I'll put it to you like this. Remember, the same justice system that everyone says is fair and balanced is what let Bill Cosby out. And we'll leave it like that. So is Bill Cosby on trial or is the justice system on trial? So we'll leave it at that.
I think the justice system is a little weird too. Like, I mean, if you know you did something illegal, like how are you able to seal a document to say that, you know, it can't come back on you or something like that? That's kind of crazy in itself, you know what I mean? So if again, I never read the document, I don't know what it was. I'm not going to speculate on that.
I'm not going to
speculate.
We will go into it.
All of that.
So
don't even worry about it.
Let me ask y'all a question, right? All right. Still Black History Month, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But is it? Is it really?
That's a joke in itself. It's the shortest month of the year.
Is it really? I mean,
we got 28
because
days.
I'm gonna keep it a grip with you. Nobody really talks about Black History Month these days, man. You know what I mean? And so, somebody got some feedback going on. What happens is that we have Black History Month, and now I guess running with Black History Month is Black Futures Month, right? And basically, I think that when they kind of present Black history to kids in school, of course we go to like the big one, like Martin Luther King, you know what I mean, Rosa Parks. That's pretty much all the kids are taught. The Black Futures thing is to teach them, I guess, going forward. Whereas I'm like, my argument is they don't really know what happened in the past. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they don't even know how Black history got started, how the whole month got started, which is crazy. So I did a little dive on it, man. And it was recognized, of course, in 1976 by Gerald Ford. And he said that was calling upon the public to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. Now, this is according to history.com, is, you know, as much as you can get out of it. It was also known as African History Month. Now, the event grew out of Negro History Week, which was the brainchild of Carter G. Woodson, the author of The Miseducation of the Negro, and other prominent African Americans at that time, right? Kids, you don't know that. You don't know that because it's not taught. All you taught is Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, right? Now, fast forward, 2015. Black Futures Month was created by the Movement for Black Lives, and that was, again, 2015. It is celebrated in conjunction with Black History Month in February. How many people knew about that? Raise your hands. You just
can't see us anyway.
I'm just thinking, you know, like in terms of
between us,
or just to the public. How many people knew that? Because a lot of people, you heard the term Black Futures, but you're not really knowing where it's coming from, right? So Movement for Black Lives is an organization that was, like put together by different prominent groups. Black Lives Matter being one of them. Now, it said the idea of Black Futures Month is to reimagine the idea of Black History Month and change the emphasis from the history of people of color to our futures. Afrofuturism, this is where it's all spanning from, is a philosophy that reimagines the world of tomorrow, which many people see as informing Black Futures Month. You might recognize Afrofuturistic themes from like Janelle Monáe's Metropolis. I've never seen Janelle Monáe's Metropolis. Anybody's familiar with that? All right.
Nah.
All right.
I am somewhat.
Somewhat? Okay. You care to speak on it, or because I'm not familiar with her version of Metropolis. I know the movie Metropolis, but not her version of it.
Oh, there was an actual movie, Metropolis?
It's a very old movie. Like,
oh no, I
from
thought this came from Janelle. I thought this was Janelle Monáe joint.
Nah, see, this is what this show is about, man. The exchange of information, right?
Well, at least I'm being honest.
Yeah, but see, you're not the only one, man. We have listeners that probably don't know this. You know what I mean? So go ahead. What was you going to say about? So because you're educating me, I know I don't know anything about Janelle Monáe's Metropolis.
I mean, I really can't get into detail because I know I saw this, but I can't really quite. I don't think it was something that really. I want to watch my words. I've been saying crazy stuff.
Listen, man.
I'm gonna say that for yourself, but before y'all get into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pull up a clip of Afrofuturism explained. All right, Afrofuturism explained. Look at the shirt that I'm wearing. Black Panther shirt, y'all.
Okay,
right.
Wakanda forever.
All right, okay. I want you to think about that when I play this clip. Listen to this.
Mm-hmm. People to have a future. What does that look like?
In February 2018, Marvel's Black Panther broke box office records and elevated the phrase Afrofuturism to the forefront of the American lexicon. But Afrofuturism is a practice that goes far beyond the aesthetic of Black people donning cool science fiction-y costumes. It is a genre of speculative fiction that highlights what regular science fiction can't and won't.
Greg Tate has spoken about how Black people live the alienation that science fiction writers imagined.
Okay. Black people live the alienation that science fiction writers imagine.
It sounds a little space cadetish to me, man. It's like, you know what I mean?
I mean, there's people out here that support this, man. And look.
Space cadetish, man.
Yeah.
You know what this is probably, you know what this is? This is like the conscious community with money behind it, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like, you like some of the conscious community stuff and you listen to some of them, but then they just get weird on you, man. Like, you know what I mean?
You know what I envision in my head when you say Afrofuturism? To be honest with you, and y'all could judge me if you want, the first thing that came to my mind was Avatar. Because I feel as though the movie Avatar really, it really is the
big blue monsters, right?
Yeah. It's really. Yeah,
I've never paid a full amount of attention to
I watched the movie. It was whack to me, but
it's not whack. That was an excellent movie.
All right,
it was an excellent movie. How a whole culture was robbed of what they had because of their land and the jewels that their land, the minerals that their land possessed. I think it might have even been gold, and then they come in and they attack them and all of this stuff. The people fought back.
Wait a minute. See, you had my curiosity, man, but now you got my attention. So you said that they stole their land and their minerals and all that. They tried to steal it.
They tried to steal their land for the minerals or whatever, but the people kind of joined forces and band together and fought back. So what's crazy about Avatar is that it's not done. The contract, I think the new one was supposed to come out 2021, but because of COVID, it's not. But I think one is supposed to come out like every 7 years, and it's a continuation of the first one. What I would suggest that you do
I'm gonna check this out. Yeah, because now you
need to take the time out and watch Avatar.
So who were these colonizers that were trying to steal from these monsters?
I got off.
The whole point.
That's the whole point.
That's the whole
I got off the bus.
I
got off the bus after the first show.
Yo, and it's crazy because it's crazy because you have to really watch it. I don't want to give too much away, but really,
I mean, pretty much everybody probably saw it but us. But go ahead.
They have me and you, we working for the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have a way to put us to sleep and wake us up so that we on their land. And now we learning the culture and everything and running.
Oh, so
with
they
them.
was like spying on them.
Spies. But the thing is, what happened is one of the dudes that was spying actually fell in love with the chief's daughter, the king's daughter, or the chief, whatever you want to call him. And he really became like into the culture and everything. And so now he's torn because they over here pressing him to get the information and get them up out of there, move them out the way so we could get this goal. And he doesn't know how to handle it.
So that's like some Dances with Wolves type stuff.
Sort of like that. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So
but more futuristic. More futuristic.
Okay. So
It's
I mean,
it's a good movie. It really is.
All
and
right.
Andre just don't have patience. That's what Andre lost his patience a long time ago.
Right.
well, all right. So let's get back to Take real quick. So this is just explaining about Afrofuturism. So far, where we left off at is, inspired. Correct me if I'm wrong, because y'all two heard the same thing. Inspired by the Black Panther movie, Marvel's Black Panther, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's talking about what Black folks could be doing in the future. Because if you ever go on Amazon, they do have like a bunch of Afrofuturism novels written in the glyphs that you see on the Black Panther and all that. Like they have the little glyphs on there and all that. All right, but check this out, though. Just check this out.
The parallels between Black life and sci-fi storylines are blatant. Despite this, there has been a glaring exclusion of Black people from works of science fiction. As such, one might think that Black people would shy away from speculative fiction and instead opt to focus on the present.
We need to represent Blackness and Black people within every realm. We need to be able to see that imagination is key, and representation has to do with allowing ourselves to be able to let our imaginations take flight, that creative impulse, that's essential.
Afro-aliens call us weird. Travel through the galaxy and we landed here.
Afrofuturism is an art form, practice, and methodology that allows Black people to see themselves in the future despite a distressing past and present.
Now, to me, and I could be wrong, it kind of says, forget the past. Am I wrong in saying that? What do y'all think?
I don't think we could move forward with our future without,
gotta acknowledge the past. And the only reason that I bring this particular topic up is because, like I said, being in education, and I see this term gets thrown around more and more. Like, the kids doing Black History Month, and you see pictures of people who are like, let's just say like Viola Davis or, Denzel or something. You know what I mean? Like, not to say that those people don't make history in their own right, but in the same token, you have a kid who don't know who Malcolm X is. Who's Muhammad Ali? Right. Who's this? You know what I mean? Like, say, who's Bessie Coleman? Who's this person? Like, they don't know the past. So like my thought on that was, it's more like if you start kind of pushing this whole Black futures thing, eventually it's going to outshadow Black history.
I think we have to look back in the past to guys like Muhammad Ali and, Malcolm X and certain individuals, whereas these people pushed aside money for their morals, for their integrity. You know what I mean? And a lot of these new people that you're going to praise, they've stuck their thumb so far down their throat they can't even speak. You know what I mean?
Did y'all watch that documentary on what was it? Was it Amazon Prime with I forgot, what was it, Regina King that did it? Where it was Malcolm, Sam Cooke, Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, that wasn't a documentary. That was a movie.
It was a movie.
It was fictional history.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
What was it? Something about Miami.
One night in Miami.
One night in Miami.
Based on a play that was done.
What did y'all think?
But all of those people, that's why I said it's good to, go back to history, because when you watch Jim Brown, you watch just to use those people that you referenced in that thing, Jim Brown, crazy integrity. Muhammad Ali, crazy integrity, walked away from money.
Wasn't Jim Brown supporting Trump though?
No, I don't know if he necessarily supported Trump. He met with Trump.
Him
supposedly.
and Steve
It was
Harvey.
the same time as Kanye
But-
was going through his thing in the White House. That's when Jim Brown was there too.
You know, but I would say they say the same thing about Ice Cube. Like Ice Cube met with Trump. I'm not a big fan of Trump at all. I don't have no.
But Cube didn't meet with Trump. He met with
Well-
Trump's people. He didn't.
Yeah,
meet
Well,
he
I
never
would say
got
that,
busted.
but I wanted to say this in regards to it is that if Ice Cube met Trump or met his people, Ice Cube has a certain integrity where I could say, well, I know he's there to do the best for us. You know what I mean? I don't trust Steve Harvey. You know what I mean? I don't trust Kanye, but I would trust a Jim Brown or an Ice Cube because of their history of how they done things. So I know if they're going there to meet with them, I don't think they're going to coon and buffoon. You know what I mean? But again, you know, I'm not a big fan of nobody necessarily meeting with Trump, but you know, it is what it is, you know. But like you said, going back to those people, I mean, Sam Cooke, man, was one of the first people to try to start his own business as far as recording, you know, being his own owner of his own music and different things like that. And these guys didn't sell out, man. So we got to say this whole Black Futures thing. I think we're going to start teaching kids how to shut up and get the bag, you know what I mean, through this Black Futures thing.
I mean, to me, it just seemed like they took the whole Wakanda concept and went a little bit too far with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think, Josh? You had this concerned look on your face.
I just, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I think on one hand, to be honest with you, that Black Panther movie, that was a good feeling when that came out. You know what I'm saying?
No
It was
doubt,
some pretty
no doubt.
Good movie,
decent
yeah.
lines. It was decent lines in that movie. The fact that it was Marvel, it attracted so many people outside of our race. But the fact that it was like motivational, and we needed that little. We needed that in that moment, that little upliftment in that moment. By the same token, we have to realize that there is no real place named Wakanda. It's good to stay in I'm being honest. It's
No,
good
that's
to
it.
stay. It's good to stay in the moment and feel, you know, motivated and to love your people and to be really proud to be Black. You know, not just for Black History Month, but every month. You know what I mean? Be proud of who you are. We're the only culture that seems to be ashamed of our culture. Everybody else has a little bit of arrogance about them, or confidence, I might say, instead of saying arrogance, where they just, you know, they embrace their culture. Sometimes we get to a certain point in our lives and we don't, we get to a certain point in our lives and we forget that it's okay to embrace our culture. You know, we feel like we got to tone it down or keep it cool to not piss anybody off. So a movie like Black Panther, it is inspirational and it was needed for the moment. But the flip side of that is we have to realize that that's not reality. And we should be working on keeping that motivation at all times. We shouldn't be using that as a premise for some futuristic.
Right. So, like, say, if you say Black Futures, like when I watched that movie,
right,
and you know, even the ending and everything with them starting the outreach center, and everybody was scientists and you know, technicians and things of that nature. That did a lot for young African American kids in particular, but African American really in particular, to like spark their interest in STEM and you know what I mean?
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? So when you say in Black Futures, I can understand you being engineers, mathematicians, scientists, artists, things of that nature, but not what we just saw there where they was dancing around in this alien voice and all that. That's not Black Future.
I agree.
I'm also too looking at this whole movement for Black Lives. So if you know, you go on their website, m4bl.org. Like I said,
hold on. But you know what's funny about this? This is like about like I remember one time I watching Jada Pinkett on Oprah, right? And I think she said something, it was either Jada or Will, and they were like, I want to live in a world where 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. You know what I mean? And there's people in the audience and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so deep. We live in a world where 1 + 1 = 2.
Right.
It's not deep. You know what I mean? It's just like you got so much money that you make it people are willing to listen to, what you're saying. You know what I mean? If a bum said that to you or somebody less fortunate, you'd be like, man, get the heck out of my face. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they
But because
crazy.
you got that money,
They
you can say
crazy.
all kinds of goofy garbage and get away with it, man. It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
man. It's like Kanye when he put out the Confederate flag clothing line or whatever like that. Like somebody actually sat in a room and was like, yo, this makes sense.
Just to bring it on home, what happens is when I was talking about this movement for BlackLivesThing.org, I suggest that everybody go in and take a look at it. And the same thing with Black Lives Matter. Originally, people, read the mission statements. Read the mission statements from these organizations. When Black Lives Matter got caught on the file about their original mission statement, within that mission statement, it was saying about destroying families and all type of stuff. Y'all can, if you're able to pull it back up, because they yanked it off like right after everybody caught on to it. So in this particular one, I want y'all to listen to a portion. This is a portion of the mission statement from the movement for Black Lives. And if anybody is a part of this organization, you are more than welcome to come on the show and explain this. So that way we don't feel like we just throwing y'all under the bus, because I just don't understand it. It says, in their mission statement, this is a portion of the mission statement, we are intentional about amplifying the particular experiences of racial, economic, and gender-based state and interpersonal violence that Black women, queer, transgender, non-conforming, intersex, and disabled people face. Now,
I take it as a disrespect.
All right, I'm not even finished yet.
Yeah.
It's called cis heteropatriarchy and ableism are central and instrumental to anti-Blackness and racial capitalism and have been internalized within our communities and movements. Now, for people who don't know what cis heteropatriarchy is, according to, this is definition, not me speaking, the definition, a system of power based on the supremacy and dominance of cisgender heterosexual men through the exploitation and oppression of women and the LGBTQIA plus community. This includes oppressive discrimination such as queerphobia, homophobia, transphobia, biphobia, and binaryism, etc. All right?
But it's called Black Lives Matter.
No, this is actually called Movement for Black Lives. Black Lives Matter is a part of this organization. It's a part of this organization. Pretty much the same thing that they took out of their mission statement when people caught on to it is pretty much in this mission statement here. It said ableism, by definition, is the discrimination in favor of able-bodied people. So they use as an example, we were fed up with the ableism of the women's movement. Or if you tell a person who is, say, mentally or physically disabled and they have a job, well, you're doing good, you're working, and that's very inspiring. According to them, that's like offensive. So my whole purpose of what I was pointing this out is not to just beat these people up, because like I said, we don't have no representatives from that organization on here to defend themselves, but you got to read these mission statements. So what do y'all think about that?
At the end of the day, I don't like when anybody attaches, Black Lives Matter or anything pertaining to our culture, and start attaching other struggles to it, or so-called struggles to it, or say it's the same as. If it was Jewish Life Matter and you attach that to transgender and all that, Jewish people lose their mind. They would lose their mind because of the struggle that they went through. These are people that have been killed and, went through years and years of oppression and stuff like that. Genocide. How do you attach that to their struggle? We're talking about African American people. You know how many people didn't make it from Africa here, and the boat just dropped them in the water and stuff like that. How many people died during the whole slave trade, and to equate that to some gender-based struggle or something like that, I just don't like it because of that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like I said, it's just read the mission statements of some of these organizations before you kind of just start attaching yourselves to it. As we always say,
I think what happened was,
check your phone, check your mic and everything.
You can't hear me?
We can hear you. It just sounds like you're in the distance. Something's wrong.
Is that better?
No.
Then I will be quiet.
All right. Well, just
So
for the
I don't want you to be quiet.
we don't want you to be quiet.
I think we could hear her somewhat. I mean, it sounded like you're on the jail phone or something like that.
I just feel like at the time that the Black Lives Matter movement first started taking off and getting really big, it was a need for it. Now, do I agree with everything that they stand for, what they do? No, I don't. But I feel like it was needed, and I feel like it brought a lot of us together outside of their movement. We had our own Black Lives Matter movement, and it was needed at the time. Like I said, I don't know that much about them to say yay or nay. There are a few things that I see that I totally don't agree with. But yeah, I think it was needed at the moment when it heightened. It was needed.
I like the slogan. The slogan, Black Lives Matter. I like it. I like the slogan. I just don't like the what I read on the back end about it, and what they're attaching to that title. You know what I mean? Yeah. So again, like I said, like you said, like in most cases, a lot of this stuff when it starts out innocent, it starts out on the point, and then it deviates to something weird, you know what I mean, later on, but yeah, I like the slogan. I just don't like what they're trying to represent on the back end of it, you know what I mean? Don't attach the struggle of African American people to nothing else.
And just to close out on that particular topic, is that's why it's important. Let's focus on the future. I think not the future, but the past, I should say, excuse me, is that right now you're not really seeing Black History Month pushed like it used to be before we start spinning off into something different. You're never gonna move forward until you know what happened back there. You know what I mean? History is repeating itself as we're talking right now. Things are happening. Not just with Black people, but just history in itself is repeating itself right now.
And like Meech said earlier, like we're the only people that, try to forget our past. You know what I mean? Like I agree. I'm not a big fan of watching all these slave movies and all the other stuff like that either. Or how can I say it? Or watching, how you walk around this United States and they have like these slave poles where they used to beat slaves, and and they keep these up as monuments, and these trading blocks where they used to sell slaves. I'm not a big fan of that. But history is history, and we got to learn a lot of it. You know what I mean? So, I even at the end of the day, just something simple is learning more about Malcolm X. It's people right now who don't even know who. I don't care. I really didn't care about Malcolm X's religious belief, but I really I liked him as a man. You know what I mean? And just the fact that you talk to some people right now, and a lot of people don't even know who El Hajj Malik Shabazz is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And the fact
Kids don't
that
know who he is.
Today is actually the anniversary of his assassination. Today, 50 some odd years ago.
So it's kind of weird that I don't know, man. I just think anybody would be offended, if they start attaching, different struggles of a race of people to, some of these things that, for me personally, I feel it's your personal, something that you want to do. Like, I'm a Black man. I can't change being a Black man. A Chinese man is a Chinese man. He can't change being Chinese. So he has to, his whole history of whatever happened to him in China, you can't attach nothing to it. You know what I mean? So that's my personal opinion on it. But again, in regards to all of that stuff, it's space cadetish, man.
Yeah, so I'm gonna close it out on that particular point. Now, one more thing before we wrap this up. The NBA All-Star game yesterday. Look at your face.
What happened with that?
Okay, not the game in particular. That was what it was. But Macy Gray sung the national anthem, right? And it's not that I'm not talking about, because I see you laughing, Justin. It ain't about Macy Gray. A thought occurred to me. I'm like, yo, man, in this day and age, why are Black singers still singing the national anthem? Why is anybody still singing the national anthem? When it's
a lot of racist stuff in there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what they did was they actually omitted it. It took about a decade before it became the national anthem. A lot of people didn't know that, right? So, because of the fact of all the controversy that went along with it. So, for instance, like again, little history lesson if you didn't know. It was written on September 14th in 1814 by Francis Scott Key. And it was originally a poem called The Defense of Fort McHenry, excuse me. Fort M. Henry or whatever it is. Fort M. Henry, not McHenry. So when you listen to the original lyrics, the lyrics that we all know or whatever, to the Star Spangled Banner, there was actually a set of words in here that was omitted. And I will say them for you. It says, no refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror or flight or the gloom of the grave. Gloom of the grave, and the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph doth wave, or the land of the free and the home of the brave. They were talking about killing slaves, killing black folks, you know what I mean? Killing hirelings.
Yeah,
and yet and still, we had probably, y'all can look this up. They have, most of the singers that actually nailed the national anthem. Just to name a few: Whitney Houston, Jennifer Hudson, Mariah Carey, Marvin Gaye, but we had countless of others that have sung the national anthem throughout, all of these many years. A lot of black artists, a lot of artists in general. Now, we living in an age of cancel culture, right? And nobody pretty much brought this up to say, like, yo, why are they still singing the national anthem? Even though you omitted, those.
Yeah, get rid of it.
You know what I mean?
I get rid of it. I'm down with getting rid of that. You can rip down these Robert E. Lee monuments and all that other stuff.
But that's the thing.
Get rid of it all.
They're in a
Do I sound better yet?
You do now towards the end of the show, man.
Okay. Well, my thing is, like, as far as that's concerned, I have noticed, do I agree with the Star Spangled Banner? No, but I have noticed that on a lot of these games now, they're starting to sing the Black National Anthem.
Lift every voice and sing.
Yeah, I heard them sing it a couple of times. Yeah,
and I thought they were just doing it. I thought they were just doing it for Black History Month, but it's not.
At one point, they actually wanted to
what do you think about that?
They wanted to make that the national anthem. You know what I mean? At one point, yeah.
That'll never happen.
I mean, they thought about it during the, like I call it the age of equity.
That's over the. Hey, listen, that's over the Midwest dead body. They'll never do that.
Oh, that's a hard fact. Yeah, they won't do that.
They'll never do that.
They won't do that.
That's over the Southern, that's Confederate flag. Listen. Before that happens, a whole lot of things are gonna go left, but it'll never happen. But yeah, I'm with throwing away everything with that, man. You can throw that whole.
I agree.
You can throw that Pledge of Allegiance and everything else. And I was in the military. You know what I mean? So don't tell me nothing about it. I actually, it's always the people that never joined the military or anything like that would be the first one to start talking to you about this, the Star Spangled Banner and pledging allegiance and all that goofy garbage and standing up, putting your hand over your heart and all that other stuff like that, but never joined the military. I mean,
that's your message to the kids. Never join the military and don't do drugs. All right. So with that being said, we're gonna get ready to wrap. Don't do drugs, kids. Don't join the military. But read the mission statement.
Military won't straighten out your problems.
Nah. All right. So check this out. The Only One Mic podcast is available on all major platforms that you stream your pods on. Please don't forget to rate the show and subscribe. I don't know how it's going to turn out after this conversation. Also, if you'd like to get in contact with the Only One Mic podcast, you can reach us via Instagram and Twitter at the Only One Mic P1, Facebook and LinkedIn at the Only One Mic podcast, and also by way of email at the Only One Mic 00@gmail.com. There you can leave your comments, which I'm pretty sure people will leave their comments on this particular topic. And as always, we say thank you for listening to us, and speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant, because they too have their story to tell. Next episode, Kelly Garrett will join us, writer of the Detective by Day series, and her new book, Like a Sister, I believe is coming out in March, if I'm correct. And let Kelly tell you when she get here. Thanks again for listening, everybody. Any last words, guys?
Peace.
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 Peace. All right. As always, I never ran from the Ku Klux Klan, and I shouldn't have to run from a black man. Peace.